Hello and welcome to this video today. I am talking about and I'm sharing some thoughts about long-standing unhappiness. And I think it is quite time that I discuss this because it's something that I have observed in my environment quite a bit. And I see so many people just out in the world who you can tell have been unhappy for such a long time. And it makes me so sad. And I wanted to offer just kind of like some tools or some insight into anyone that's perhaps struggling with long-standing unhappiness. There's so much that I think awareness can help alleviate. It's mind-blowing to me because when I look at my own life and my own experiences and how I have chosen to respond to things and how I have experienced those things, emotionally, has really come down to me. Like it came down to what my inner stance is, like where am I at, emotionally and spiritually, and where am I on my evolutionary growth? Because long-standing unhappiness, which I just want to mention this quick, long-standing unhappiness actually ages you 10 times faster, if not even more. This is something that science has now proven, and that's because when we are under continuous stress, we're obviously constantly releasing stress hormones in our body, right? And our bodies are just responding to the emotions that we're feeling internally and the thoughts that we're having about those emotions or vice versa. And as a response, it releases stress hormones over and over and over because the body is a chemical factory, and right, and it's just pumping out the chemicals that you are basically focusing on, because happiness creates a certain chemical, right, and releases serotonin and happy hormones in the brain, and sadness and grief and all those create like a different kind of chemical reaction within the body. So that being said, I think it's so important to be mindful that the state of being that we are in is always based on some kind of underlying experiences that we have had, whether that was right from your entire life, like from the time you were born until present day, or it could have just been certain events in your life that could have caused certain things to... It's a perspective thing. Like, we look at life from our own perception based on experiences that we have, based on experiences that we've had in the past, and based on how we feel about them and what thoughts we have about them. And usually what thoughts we have about them actually really comes down to what thoughts other people have about a certain circumstance. So if on average, like I notice this in society, right? If one person responds negatively to something, then there's most likely going to be 100 other people who will follow suit and chime in and add their negativity to that thing, right? Because it seems to, I don't know, like people gravitate towards that kind of stuff. Why? Because they're in that kind of a state already. But in order to recognize where you are and what state you're in and why you have long-standing unhappiness and what you're actually unhappy about, those are all things that are going to only come to the surface of your consciousness if you're able to actually look at what caused it in the first place. If you're able to look at the roots of all of those things that you're actually... the way, like your perception, the roots of your perception within yourself, that is going to be the key factor in helping you eliminate that long-standing unhappiness. And I wrote a couple notes down for myself of the different things that cause long-standing unhappiness. And one of the first things I wrote down, and I underlined like double, was denial. One of the first things I notice in people that are unhappy for a really long period of time in their life, like they're not really engaged in their life, they're not excited about it, they're not fulfilled with it, those people are always in denial. And that's hard to hear for people like that, but that's usually what I have to tell them. They are in denial about something within their life that they're not willing to take responsibility for. They're not willing to change, right? So a fear of change, actually, bringing me into my next point, is another reason. So denial, a fear of change is also what causes long-standing unhappiness for people. A belief that I can't is a huge one, like in so many different ways. And I think I'll touch on each point afterwards. I just want to get through them. And then motivation to change. There's a lack of motivation to change your life. That's another reason why people have longstanding unhappiness, or a lack of responsibility. Like they just do not want to take responsibility for what they've created within their own life. Because 9 times out of 10, maybe even 10 out of 10, not maybe, I think it's 10 out of 10, we actually create our own reality. We create our own life. We create everything that is in it through our thoughts and our feelings and our actions, and how we couple those three, right? And when someone is not able to admit that they have perhaps made some bad choices in the past, then guess what? Those people are not going to be able to overcome that challenge. They're not going to be able to overcome that obstacle, because they can't even admit it to themselves in the first place, that, you know what, I fucked up, and perhaps I didn't think it through, and perhaps maybe I didn't look at it from every single angle, before I made the decision. And perhaps I just didn't see it clearly, and whatever else. Like, there's so many factors. But that's okay, because life is not about us being hard on ourselves for the things that we didn't notice when we were supposed to notice them. It's not about being hard on yourself for making mistakes, or for choosing people in your life that you're not happy with, or allowing people in your life that, take from you all the time, and it, and you feel the imbalance in the relationship. Like, these are all examples of ways in which we're giving away power, ways in which we are in absolute denial of the control that we have over our own life. And I was stuck in this for so long. I was really in denial too. I was unhappy for a long, long period of time, like just always stuck in the same repetitive thoughts and feelings. And then it really is like a hamster wheel in there. Like, it just turns and it keeps going. And you have to make such a conscious effort to get off that hamster wheel and stop telling yourself the same story over and over, because that story over and over is what keeps you stagnant in the long-standing unhappiness. And that story 99.9% of the time is a lie. It's not even true. Those are just your fears, and those are just all of your different, things within yourself where you feel insecure. And the ego is so powerful, and it will create so many stories in your head of why you can't do something, or why you're not allowed, or why you are not worthy of happiness. Like, because that was a big, big thing. Like, worthiness is a huge one. I've really noticed, and many people I've talked to. There was a gentleman I was talking to who was talking to me about his work, actually, and how much he was unhappy, and he has been unhappy for so long, working the same job. And I asked him, why don't you just choose something different? And he's like, well, I can't. I said, well, sure you can. Well, like, he just, again, it's that denial. It's that I can't. It's the belief of I can't. It's not that he actually can't, because you know what? Even for myself, like, every time I think I can't do something, I always end up realizing that if I search and I dig deep enough within myself, and if I pick my own brain long enough, I will actually find resources that I have access to where I can actually make a change, or I can actually do something, even if it's like the smallest little thing, but I can do something that will allow me to take that next step. But it's that comfort zone that you have to step out of. It's the willingness to say, you know what, I deserve to be happy. And I am allowed to be happy. And perhaps for the first time in my life, I need to take my power back and look at all of the ways and all of the times that I've given it away to this unhappiness, and for how long I have been giving it away. And it's something that I can pull right back, because in reality, okay, and when we talk about like no BS here, in reality, everyone knows what makes them unhappy. Everyone. If you are truly honest with yourself, You know exactly what is making you unhappy, and you know exactly what you would like more of in your life and what you would like less of in your life. Because that's just a basic principle of life. We all know when we have experiences, and when you get to a certain age, everyone starts to figure out what they want in life and what they don't want to experience in life. But most people just don't choose it. They don't choose the ones that they want more of because they keep believing that they deserve the stuff that they don't want. And so they could keep perpetuating it in their mind and convince themselves, really, because that's what I see, is people convince themselves. I used to convince myself, this is it for you, girl. Like, this is it, don't strive for more. And we convince ourselves of that. And it's so toxic and it's so terrible. And that's why I'm sharing this, that to hopefully help you awaken to that kind of negative thinking pattern that you may have. So any situation in your life right now that and assess realistically, people, please assess realistically. What is in my life right now that I'm unhappy about? And I've been lying to myself about it. And I've been denying it. And I've been convincing myself that I can keep going in this way, even though my heart and my gut and my soul is like wrenching because it wants change so bad. When you can look at yourself that honestly, the long-standing unhappiness is now beginning to shift, is now already shifting in a new direction. And you're already taking one step closer to ending it. And that comes from awareness. It comes from a lack of denial. So do not deny what you are unhappy about. Instead, wholeheartedly admit it to yourself and ask yourself the question, what else could I choose? What other options would I have if I didn't have these limitations in my mind? What resources could I potentially pull from that I didn't even realize I had access to? Right? There are always solutions. There are always solutions to every single problem. It's always about how we look at it. It's how you perceive it. And what thought process are you coming from to approach it? And are you willing to do something about your long-standing unhappiness? Because that's really the question at the end of the day. Are you willing to look at it, admit it to yourself, and maybe start working on it? And even if you don't get all the answers tomorrow, and even if you don't make massive life changes tomorrow, but at least the wheel has started to turn within you, if you are willing to look at it. So I'm asking you, and I'm telling you to look at it, because when I looked at mine and I asked myself, what am I unhappy about? And why have I been unhappy about this for so long? Then I can identify it. And once I've identified it, I can then start coming up with solutions. And I can start looking at what I actually have as an option. What else could I possibly choose other than this? Because I know this is making me unhappy. And am I willing to put in the work and the time and the effort and the blood, sweat, and tears to change my life? Because people don't want to fucking put in the work. I see it all the time, and I get so frustrated listening to people who want to change their life, and they want change and they're craving it and their heart and soul is just yearning for it. But they're not willing to do the work, and they're not willing to put themselves in any kind of discomfort, even though all they experience is discomfort. Every single day that you are not happy and you are not honest with your heart and your soul, you are living in discomfort. You can keep choosing it like I used to keep choosing it. Or I can choose to change and choose something else. Just look at it from a different angle and choose something else. And that's what I'm doing now. And it feels awesome. Because now I am looking actively for solutions in my life, not for problems. And I'm willing to put in the work and the blood, sweat, and tears and everything that has to come with it to change. Because I'm tired of being unhappy. I don't want to experience it anymore. I don't want to be like this all the time. I would really like to free myself of that. And I know I can. And you can too. So that's my message for today, guys. Think about what makes you unhappy. And think about what little steps you could take today to find some solutions and start focusing on being really honest with yourself and not denying what can be changed. It doesn't matter how old you are and what circumstances you're in. Please believe me when I say that. So take care, guys. And I hope this message was helpful.